Alright, what's going on everybody, Slim here, and today's video I have a commentary for y'all, and we're basically going to be comparing Exalted PvP to Max PvP, and we're going to be talking about, obviously my opinions, what I like about Exalted, what I like about Max, and what I prefer in general. But before we get into that, guys, be sure to let me know what you guys think in the comments below. What do you guys think about Exalted and Max? What, design do you prefer in general? And if you are brand new around here, feel free to subscribe and maybe consider leaving a like rating. I do post every single day and I'd really appreciate it. But yeah, without further ado, let's get right into the video. Alright, so the first thing I want to talk about, which is going to be the overall design in terms of gear, and I guess we'll talk about squad identity later. But in terms of gear, I feel like Exalted has way more variation than Max could ever dream of, personally. At Exalted, you can run Mally gear, you can run Croc gear, I think you can run like the Zeus Gauntlet gear as well. You can run Tartarus gear, you can have Amulet of Divine, a Mastery, a Darkmoor amulet, right? It just goes on and on with the amount of crazy builds you can do. And honestly, all of them have fair trade-offs, and they're all pretty viable, in my opinion. I've done quite a bit on my death, and there's just so much content, to be, had fun, so much fun to be had at Exalted in general. I feel like, I just wish the queue time was better, and I probably would play and make more Exalted players, but unfortunately, the queue time just isn't that great right now. So next up, I suppose we will be talking about school identity, since I brought it up there in the first point. Now, a lot of people have a different idea on what school identity is, and the devs even said themselves they don't think the players know what actual school identity is, which I find pretty funny, personally. But to me, school identity comes down to, what your school does best, right? Myth is a minion school, and as of right now, right, Myth can use Troll the most effectively, right? So that's school identity right there. Or Death, for example, Death can drain the best, right? Storm can hit the hardest, right? Fire can overtime, but, Fire's overtime cards aren't that good right now. But, to me, it comes down to, spell elements and the overall card, and not so much the gear, because, you see Death having more damage than Storm in, like, the meta right now, and, like, Life has, like, 150 damage. So I wouldn't really say it's the gear in of it itself. I would say it's more about the cards, and personally, for school identity, I think I'm gonna have to chalk this one off to Exalted PvP as well. Now, Max, you do have a lot more cards. You have you have Shads, right? Grim Reader, Rusalka. What else we got? Blast Off, Yaga, right? Hidden Minion. A couple of Shads do have some, cool school identities to them, and, I have to give Max credit there where it's due. But the reason why I think things are better at Exalted for school identity is simply just because, right, you have less options, so you have to provide more value with your spell elements, right? So, for example, if we look at Meltdown and Phoenix, right, that is more school identity, that is more common at Exalted than it is at max level right now, right? Or Elephant, right? Spellamented Elephant could be a lot more effective the lower the levels you go, because, less health, more value in terms of cards like that. I just feel like at max, there's too much going on, there's so much health, right? There's so much, buffs and debuffs in place. It's just, it can be like a circus at max PvP sometimes. I feel like, with all the Shads, with all the buffs, right? Some formulaic moves, and I guess we could talk about formulaic later potentially, but yeah, at lower levels it's not really formulaic. You might just overtime into a headless, but at max, it's just always the same Shads coming out a good 90% of the time, unfortunately, and you can't really do much about that sometimes. So I definitely prefer the school identity at lower levels, just simply because, right, there's less cards and less health at your disposal, so you're more incentivized to use, you know, the actual spellment paths and cards that suit your school. A good example for this, I feel like, would be comparing Beetle Pet at low level to Beetle Pet at max level. I think one pip beetles would provide a lot more value at lower levels, as compared to an elf at lower level. But at max, right, when every turn matters because, you know, there's so much debuffs, there's so much stuff going on, it's so chaotic, right? It's more important to have an elf at max because all the health bar, right, all the debuffs going on. So I think that's a good example on where, you know, Beetle is better at lower level, Elf is better at max, but if you swap them around, Elf at lower level and Beetle at max, it's not as good. So I think that's just a good way to paint the picture as well. In terms of school identity, at least, right? Because, you know, Storm isn't an overtime school. It's more of a Beetle school, right? But Beetle is more effective at the lower levels, again, because the HP isn't so glaring at those levels, and you don't have to worry about, you know, having to break your school identity like Elf at max just to try and compete, essentially, is my point here. Then yeah, I will be bringing up formulaic strats as well here, since we were on the topic of that in the last point. So basically, if you guys don't know what a formulaic strat is, you know, in case you live under the rocks of Mirage here or something, it's basically when people got like a Google Doc sheet, so it's like, okay, 6-round aura into the Grim Reader into the Headless, GG, you know, or I don't know, 6-round aura into the Beetle into the Resolka through the shield, or bubble into the Frostbite A-bomb, right? You know, just like the same moves over and over, and typically there is hardly any counterplay at all. Now, again, I would put this towards Exalted PvP. I think there is a lot less of formulaic strategies at Exalted PvP, in my personal opinion. Sorry. At max, right? People can just Grim Reader through shields, and it's always a good move because the utility, and if you have a follow-up, you know, you're fine. Right? Especially with Death right now, they have stats of a Storm Wizard, it's just absolutely mental, right? But yeah, when I played Exalted PvP, I saw a lot of players doing different things. I saw Overtime Fire, I even saw Trap Stack Fire, and then, like I said in the start of the video, with the gear, right? Not all players run Masteries at Exalted. At Max, you're expected to run a Mastery in the current meta because there's no good mono school amulets like there is at Exalted PvP, right? I would love to see a Darkmoor amulet be updated to 150, and I would love to rock that, you know, as a, you know, a mono school build, right? Rather than being forced to run a Mastery at max, right? I think simply put, you know, Masteries at max level are just statistically way better than the mono amulets at max level. But at Exalted, it's much more evened out, right? You can run a Mastery, and it's not bad. You can run a Mono School, and it's not bad. It just depends on your build you're going for. And unfortunately, again, I'm gonna have to I'm gonna have to put that one towards Exalted as well. Max is just not looking too good in this video so far, as it was. But yeah, the point here is just like, at max, right, again, you run a Mastery, you do the same moves, right, the same 2 or 3 moves, but Exalted, you don't have to run a Mastery, you have more options, therefore there's less formula, and that's the point here, just to clarify it real quick. Now, since we've been talking kind of negative about max PvP, I figured I would actually bring up something positive for the sake of this video, because I don't like to be negative all the time, contrary to popular belief. And I know this one's to be really controversial, and I'm expecting people to be like, wow, Liam, I hate you, unsubscribe or something like that, you know, dude? But I actually really don't mind shadow raiding, and I know I just said I don't like formulaic strats, you know, I don't like how bare bones it really comes down to. But the idea of shadow magic is really, really cool to me, in my opinion. However, I think, you know, again, with KingsIsle in general, they have a lot of cool ideas, art, you know, aesthetic ideas, right? But they just really fail on the execution. Again, no diss to the devs. That's just how I feel, and you know, some other players out there probably as well. I really do just wish there was more diversity in shads, right? So for example, Ice A-bombs, Storm Rasulkas, Death Grim Readers. That's about it. I would like to see more variety just in general at max PvP, right? There's more variety at lower levels, and you know, I feel like that's just a fact. To be honest with you, right? You can just look at the gear and the strats. There's just more variety at lower levels. But I think a way they could make more variety at max level PvP is simply by making shadow hits not about damage purely, okay? So, you know, people send A-bomb because it does a crazy amount and you get a 50 shield, right? Storms send Rasulka because it's good damage and you might get a blade back, right? Death Grim Readers because it is literally always a good move, right? Literally always. But what if we had shads, right? Instead of just sending them for damage and, you know, utility that is overtuned, why don't we have shads that do a little bit of damage? So what I'm talking about is, let's say I'm in ice, right? I have, I don't know, a 5-pip shad. Doesn't do as much as A-bomb because it's not supposed to be a damage card. It's more of a utility card, okay? So let's say I have a 5-pip ice spell called, I don't know, Ice Nova or something, okay? And what Ice Nova does is it does maybe about half a A-bomb, so it can still break a shield, right, to apply pressure maybe. But you use it to set up a gambit, right? So you apply pressure, but then you force and take the, what's the word I'm looking for? You take the initial move on tempo of threatening a gambit, right? So what if Ice Nova, again, does like, you know, 400 damage or something, but it puts on 3 or 4 weaknesses that could be, I don't know, 25%, 10%, 5%, infections, whatever, but to threaten a Jhin out of that, right? I think that would just provide way more variety in terms of max PvP and less formulaic. Because I know a lot of players just are tired of seeing the same stuff over and over, right? 6-round aura into the hidden bubble, into the hit through the shield, yada yada, right? I think a lot of players are just tired and sick of that, so I really think going that route would be cool. You know, you could look at Dark and Stormy as well for Storm. That should give 2 heal overtimes to set up the Thundering Jhin out of that, right? Not a very good card in terms of damage per pip, but you could use it as utility to be threatening more and not make the game so much about whoever gets a better shot hit, but whoever just plays better in general, and you can play however you want to play, so that's what I think, guys. So I'm gonna have to side with Exalted overall at the end of the video here. If there's anything I missed in the comments below, you can feel free to let me know. I just kind of try to generalize a lot of things in this video. Yeah, but let me know what you guys think in the comments. Thank you for watching this far, and I will be looking forward to see what you guys have to say down there. So without further ado, I will see you guys in the next one. Thank you for watching, and as always, take care, guys.